Welcome to the Sellernomics podcast, sharing valuable tips and information in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Each week, we deliver the best interviews with some of the top Amazon personalities in the industry to help you grow your business. Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. And now, here is your host, Rob Stanley.
Hey everyone, Rob Stanley here with Sellernomics podcast. And first, apologize to John and to everybody listening. My voice is out a little bit today. It's been a long week at Retail X in Chicago, which I'm still actually here for a dinner tonight. But hey, I got a good one for you guys. I got Jon Tilley, CEO of ZonGuru. How you doing, John?
What's up, Rob? Good to be here. And damn, man, I wish I got to Chicago a couple of days ago because I actually leave for Chicago today. So I miss you by a little bit, but anyway, yeah, good to be here, and I'm excited to chat through all things Amazon.
Yeah. So we're today's topic, just so everybody knows, today's topic is going to be how to use data to scale your Amazon business. And once again, Jon Tilley is with ZonGuru. If anybody's listening, if you guys watching, we're more than happy to take any questions, and we're going to kind of just jump right into this. So John, it's kind of a big statement saying how to use data to scale your Amazon business. Let's try to let's break it apart a little bit. So when we're talking about data, let's go into what is the first sort of bit of data that people usually can benefit from getting that can kind of maybe directly affect a positive way of their sales increasing.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go a little bit high level on that, and then let's come back to that question for a second. But
sure.
The first thing I want to say about data, obviously ZonGuru is a business intelligence tool. We have 17 different tools at each part of the Amazon journey, right? So if you're in the research phase, we'll help you. If you're obviously launching and scaling, we'll help you profitability, etc. And the one thing that I always say about data is anybody who's listening. Data is 50% of the equation, if that, right? You've got to get good data, which is incredibly important. But the other side of the coin is your business savviness, your business education, the decisions that you make with that data. And so I always say to people, you can't just rely on the data. You've got to understand, obviously, what does the data mean, and then intelligently make decisions around that to really benefit your business. So there's a soft skill involved here. It's not just all data. Hey, cool, I got the data, great. It more leans on your entrepreneurial savviness. That's a really critical point. So I'd like to say that up front because it's critical that you do have the business acumen to really be successful with your business, and then data can play into that, no problem. Going into data. The very first place that I guess it can help with anybody's decision is validating the product idea or the niche or the area that you want to go into, right? And that's evolved over time, and it's certainly a lot more complicated than, hey, how much does this product do on Amazon, right? And what's the sales estimate? There's a lot that goes into that, and that's a critical piece to solve, because if you get that wrong, the next 6 to 7 months while you develop that product, it's not going to go well for you, right? So you've got to get that right up front.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Now we were talking a little bit earlier. You're telling me that you sold or either have sold or currently are a seller on Amazon. So maybe what kind of data did you use? And of course this changes, but when it comes to what I was going to ask is what kind of data you use when it comes to product research to find a product. I remember, when I was, I think 2013, when I was selling on Amazon or started selling on Amazon, there wasn't really a lot of tools out there. A lot of it was done kind of manually. I just had to scrape through what I could find, to basically find what was top sellers, guesstimate on what they were selling, try to look for what my target price was, so it was a whole different game. But what kind of data have you used? Let's just start. We'll go through the whole process. We'll start with product research first. Sure. Why don't you tell us what kind of data have you used to find products and it's been helpful for you?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a business, selling private label products on Amazon. But I started back in 2012, 2013, same kind of time as you. And back then it was all about sales, sales estimates, and that's essentially what you based it on. But even back then, you had a lot more room to make mistakes because it was a lot less competitive, a lot less seasoned, much more opportunities, at least on .com at the time, that you could kind of get into, and you could hit a winner, right? Further part of our conversation is like how far it's evolved since then. But when I was looking back then and before I really started ZonGuru, I'd come from an advertising background, and there was always it's kind of like a business saying, which is GIGO, right? Garbage in is garbage out, right? If you get bad information, you're gonna make bad decisions. You're gonna make bad products or whatever it is. So that kind of flashed across my head back then, because there were so many holes in answering the questions with data, right? And if you can get that right, obviously you're much more confident in your way forward. And so the way that I looked at it then was like, okay, well, there was sales estimates, but I took a step back and I was like, what are the fundamental questions from a business perspective that you need to answer in order to validate a niche, right? And so the basic ones at the beginning is kind of 5 key areas, which is how much demand is there. If I'm selling on Amazon, there's got to be, we're not starting a brand new brand, right? There has to be demand for that niche, for that category. Are people actually searching for that kind of product? So what does that demand look like? The second one is how competitive is that space? Are the listings, or are the competitors extremely seasoned, well established, big players, which are a lot harder to compete against, is the second question. So competition is the second one. The third one, clearly from a business perspective, is can I make profit with that product? So what is the price point I'd set it for? What are my cost of goods? What's the sales velocity of that product in that category, and how quickly if I make that net margin, how quickly can I start to generate a sizable amount of money that I can invest back into capital and actually grow a business, and obviously PPC, etc. So that margin and that profitability is a key piece. And then the fourth one is really around how much capital do I need? Do I need a lot of money to one, buy the stock, but buy enough stock and invest in enough around PPC, etc., so that I can actually launch a product and compete at the sales velocity of page one. So do I need $5,000 or do I need $50,000 or 100, right? So it's a critical piece. So those are like the 4 main categories that we can use data to really help evaluate. Essentially, is this a good niche to go into or not? And then the fifth one, which is again almost 50% of the equation, is can I differentiate? And how do I differentiate? And can I make a difference? And we have tools that can help around insights around how to differentiate. But that again is a soft skill that you really have to understand. And it's probably the most critical one, because you can hit all of those 4 questions and it looks all great. But if you can't figure out how to really differentiate from the competitors and connect with your audience, emotionally or however you want to do it visually, you're kind of dead in the water. So those are the areas that from my perspective, you need data to solve. And we have a product called the Niche Radar. It's kind of called the Rainbow. People love to call it the Rainbow because it has these 4 key lines that represent a percentage performance of each of those questions, and helps you to make decisions around that. So that's how we approach it up front.
Yeah, that's some good tips, and you're definitely right. I mean, it was a lot easier back in 2012, 2013. It was like you could pick up a couple hundred units, maybe a couple $1,000s worth, and throw it up there. And if it took off, you could go back and order more, and just keep that cycle going. But nowadays, there's a lot more pre-work and data analysis you have to do to check on that. So one thing that and I'm sure you get the same question, Jon, but for somebody new, if somebody's looking to start out, they want to do their research, like what can they expect on how much they should probably have to invest to get going with that first product? Or maybe even from what I'm hearing from a lot of people now, you probably don't even want to start with one. You really want to start with like 2 or 3, just in case you have a funky product that doesn't do well. What are you kind of seeing? Because, the days of starting with a couple $1,000 and getting a product and trying it out, those are kind of not really there anymore. So what's your kind of thought or advice you give to people who ask that question to you?
Yeah, it's a super interesting question. And Rob, you're going to nod your head when when we were back in 2012 and you know, everyone at the same time was like, oh my gosh, Amazon is so competitive right now. How do you get in and sell on Amazon? You know, that was the same question we were fielding back in 2012. So it's always going to be the question. It's always going to get better. You know, the key is to start, right? So I think anybody in the beginning, that they need to start, but they have to be smart about how they start. And I would say what's evolved of late and what really excites me is the evolution in the ability to sell on any marketplace, not just .com, right? You can be anywhere in the world and you US or anywhere else in the world, and you have a choice. You can sell on Amazon.com. You can sell on some of the emerging marketplaces in Europe that are really viable. Germany, UK, Canada is a really strong one. Australia is the fastest growing marketplace at the moment. I'm really excited about that one. You can get in now, you know, and be part of that evolution, that you know, growth phase that they're going through. India is another one we've just integrated with. So, you know, not only it's not all about just selling on .com, and you have these global approaches, and you have to approach it differently, right? So the way I explain it is .com, it's a much more of a micro niche, you know, way of finding a product. You have to find a niche within a niche within a niche, right? You've got, you know, a very seasoned marketplace with consumers across all types of products using .com. So if you can really take a very thin slice and find a very specific target audience, the opportunities there today are still there, right? In terms of a unique product that, you know, maybe you can do 10 to 20,000 as probably a launch budget. I would say, you know, you could start there on that scale, but certainly, you know, if you can scale beyond 50,000, 100,000 just as your launch budget to get in and compete. So my advice to newbies is probably not launch 2 or 3 products. Like, you just got to be a lot more savvy and a lot more specific on finding that unique idea, that there's a very micro niche, and using that to start. And it just, you know, remember I kind of said back in 2012, we had a lot more leeway to make mistakes and you could kind of take a bit of a swing. But nowadays, you know, you need to use data to find that idea, but you have to evolve that further in terms of your research around your customer. Put a lot more effort into understanding the customer, understanding your research, you know, really, you know, using some of the tools available to us to validate ideas before you even go to market, right? So I think there's a lot more emphasis that you have to put around your R&D and your product research around your customer to really hit the market and know that you're going to move it. But it's there, right? I've got, you know, people who have contacted me yesterday who launched one product, you know, 3-4 months ago, and they're struggling to stay in stock. They're hitting over that 50K a month, that 60K, that 70K. So those opportunities are absolutely there, and there's a lot of them, but you have to really dig in and find them. So you know, that's the approach to .com. But again, if you're looking globally, there are much bigger niches, you know, that were possible to get into in .com maybe 3-4 years ago that might be too big for you now. But those are available in other markets, and you can get in there. So, you know, those bigger niches, less competition, it's available. It's just not on .com. You know, there's other markets.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and that's really well put. So, you know, one of the things we're going to take a quick break, but real quick when we come back from this break, I'm going to talk to Jon a little bit about what data has he seen that Amazon sellers maybe are not paying enough attention to that could really help them. But we'll be right back.
Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics.
Yeah, so to get that $400 in free FBA reimbursements, head on over to GETIDA.com/Sellernomics. And once again, I have Jon Tilley. He is the founder of ZonGuru. And or CEO, probably both, right?
By the way, I just want to say I love your guys' business model. It's like the best. You know, it's like, you know, you guys don't have to pay us anything. Let us just do our work. We'll show you how much money we can make you, and then it's just the difference between that and what they need to pay you. It's awesome, man. For a seller, and just as a model itself, it's amazing.
Appreciate that. Yeah, gave that sales pitch a lot this week at RetailX, but we're gonna talk about Jon today. So Jon's on with me, and we're talking about how to use data to scale your Amazon business. And right before we went to the break, I was asking him, basically I had a question for him regarding, Amazon sellers, what bit of data are they maybe ignoring or not paying enough attention to that could really help them, either increase their business or expand it or find more products? You see a lot of data points. So what kind of things do you see that they kind of just glaze over and they really should be paying attention to and taking a better look at?
Yeah. I think it's important to state that it's an evolution again, right? I think you need to use some basic tools like our niche radar or something that can give you an overall sense of like, hey, is this a potentially good opportunity, right? Because what happens to a lot of people who are researching is they're trying to make all of those decisions with all of those data points in one go, and they get they get lost a little bit, or they get overwhelmed, and it becomes a much harder task for them to find ideas. So at a high level, understand whatever data tools you're using, understand at a high level what can it do, and then just make a focus of going, hey, I'm gonna use this as a first screen across 20 different ideas. Get that, and once I have those 20 different ideas, then dive into more critical data points so you can start to knock some out, right? And then funnel that down to like 10 or 5, and then keep going until you get 1 or 2 or 3, right? So that's an important point. Is don't use all the data points up front. Use it as one phase, and then go in and layer it. So in terms of data points that I think people gloss over, it starts to happen more in that second phase of like, hey, I've got 1 or 2 ideas that potentially I could sell on Amazon, but I need to get deeper on some of those data points. And so one area that I think is missed is kind of the access to brand analytics, which is available on Amazon. We have it built into our tools, and it can tell you things like outside of just whoever owns the looking at competitors, who are the actual top 3 competitors that get the most clicks and conversions. That is a key piece of data that we visualize, which to me is extremely helpful, because once I have an idea of like, hey, I could sell this product, I have to understand, how do I make it better than my competitors? And knowing who the top 3 competitors are in terms of who gets the most clicks and conversions, that is incredibly insightful for me, because it starts to ask questions in my head like, okay, well, why are they getting more clicks on the search results page, and why are they getting more conversions? Is it the price point? That's an easy one to look at. You can see, great, are they getting the most sales because they're the cheapest? Is it the visual? Is it the copy on the page? Like, what are they doing differently to get the most clicks and conversions? Because they're appearing in those search results, but why are they getting more clicks than anybody else? So that is a really key piece of data for me. I think the other 2 pieces I'd quickly talk about is understanding the competitor focus around keywords, and what kind of keywords are they owning, and most importantly, what keywords are they missing out on, right? So it helps me to really validate from a product research perspective, is there a real opportunity to go in here, and how do I beat my competitors so I can launch and actually own a part of the market, and then kind of come in through the back door and then take them over, right? So understanding from a keyword perspective, what are the most important keywords and relevant keywords that I have to have in my listing, but what does the universe from the top 25 competitors look like? What are they owning and competing and fighting for? And where are the gaps, that they've missed because they're not using ZonGuru, right, or whatever? And how do I find those? And we have a really good way of showing at a keyword level, where are the opportunities and what should I own that my competitors aren't. So that's a really important piece for me. And then I would say another really important piece is going back to that research phase, right, of understanding your customer. And often, more times than not, when I see someone fail on Amazon, it's because they haven't done their customer research in the best way possible, and doing things like understanding emotionally, what do they really care about? We have a tool called the love-hate tool, which basically does a word cloud analysis of all of the reviews across that category and pulls out all the things that are positive in sentiment and all the things that are negative in sentiment, and it gives you the idea of like what do my customers care about, and what can I change or focus on to connect with that customer, right? So that's a really critical piece of the analysis of just really understanding customer sentiment, and ensuring that you can use that for your differentiation and for your listing creation, etc. So those are some high level thoughts I have.
Yeah, let's stay on that for a second, because I think you brought up a good point. So there's a tool you guys have that basically is pulling in all the positive and all the negatives. I mean, if I'm a seller, I'd be keeping an eye on that, because if I'm seeing that, hey, there's a lot of people talking about maybe a particular issue with my product, I might want to go back and do like a version 2.0 of this product and fix that issue, or on the next order, make sure that issue's fixed. Maybe something breaks, or there's a weak point, or screw comes loose or something like that. It's also a good way to really address, hey, here's the issue. I'm going to solve this on the next round, and when it comes back around, which could save you from getting some bad reviews. So that's a great one. That's great information right there. And that's another using data. Have you ever seen? And I've talked to a few people about this before, but sometimes when you're researching products, you'll usually, not always, but a lot of times products are usually something you kind of are a little bit passionate about, you have a little bit of a feel for. Have you ever gone in and joined a group that's, a category of that product that's in, and kind of just see like, what are people asking for? I mean, we use pet products a lot because, those are always there, but, maybe you're in a very niche pet area and they're talking about, hey, this type of harness or this type of thing, really wish there was one like that. You could pick up ideas from that. Have you ever done anything like that, Jon, or does ZonGuru have something like that to help out?
Yeah, I haven't done that myself, but we've had a lot of sellers do that on community groups on Facebook, etc. And it's a great strategy and tactic. Especially going back to the point of what product should I choose. If you can choose something that you're passionate about, but most importantly has gas factor, right? The give a, excuse my French, give a shit factor, right? People really care about the product. Those are the kind of products that are great for private labeling, right? And you can find those pet groups or whatever you're going into, and trust me, you can post a question. They're like, hey, I've got this product and I'm thinking of doing it slightly different like this. What do you guys think? The amount of comments you're going to get because people are so passionate about it is absolute gold, and to use that, in your product creation is critical. So yes, that's one tactic. I'll give you two other ones that I think are really important. Doing something like what I always tell people at a high level, and there's like a pick through, or there's a bunch you can use it, but you can do it yourself, right? It's like literally once you have your product idea and you're creating your images, before you've even potentially started manufacturing your product, get that image and Photoshop it into a search results page on Amazon, put that photo in there, and then just give it to a few friends and say, hey, which product would you pick? And see how many of them actually pick yours. You've got to make sure that your differentiation factor is there and it's communicated in the right way. So that's a definitely an easy exercise to do up front. And then one other one, which is a little bit further down the process, but when you're creating your listings, the one that I is absolute gold to me is literally finding two target audience friends, and before your product's live, tell them to go onto Amazon and say, hey, buy this product. Here's the cash. Go and buy this product in this category. And when you're going through that process of buying it, let's just say it's a pull-up bar for your door, right? A pull-up bar, let's just say. You say, hey, go and buy a pull-up bar off Amazon. And as you're going through the process, record your session using Loom or some screen recording session. And as you go through every step, think out loud or talk out loud about all the questions you're asking, right? And as they go through that whole buying process, that insight you're going to get is going to be super huge in terms of helping your conversion rate and getting people to buy your product over someone else's. So, that kind of research about understanding what your customers are asking as they go through it, you'll probably find like, hey, one of the dimensions that is so critical to the door and how it fits is missing from most of the other competitors. So you can have that dimension and your conversion rate will go through the roof. It's those kind of things. So that I found is a really valuable free tip that you can get any software out there and just get a couple of friends to record that buying process, and that will help you a lot in your product creation and listing.
Yeah, so I've got a quick story for you. So Retail X, we're sitting at the booth. A person comes by, shows us this prototype product. They had trademarks, patents, all that stuff on it, right? But I'm looking at it and I'm really going, okay, I get they're trying to do a better mousetrap, but I also can see almost instantly that the mousetrap normal mousetrap costs 10 cents. This thing's going to be like, $2 or something versus a 10-cent mousetrap. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, they're taking the time. I mean, don't get me wrong. People have great ideas and it sounds great, but they go and invest all this money in getting these prototypes of these things done. It's like, take the time maybe to, and again, we're not here to obviously promote pig food, but I love those guys. And, but there's a great example that the guy showed it to us. And I was like, you should have ran that through pig food, get some feedback, put a price point on it, see if people are even interested before you even pursue going and dumping all this money into the manufacturing of it. And it was kind of interesting, but anyways, I want to get back to Jon Tilley.
Just a comment on that, but it goes back to what I was saying, right? You get data and then you get business sense, right? And the entrepreneurial sense about that. And you've got to really strengthen that side of your repertoire if you're going to be successful on Amazon is the business savviness. And again, I think going back to business savviness, like so many people are like, hey, I don't know if I should keep selling this product, or my gut says like maybe I should keep selling it, but I'm not really doing the sales. I'm like, where is your discipline around the numbers, right? Which is data again. But you, as an entrepreneur, you have to define all of your decisions on putting numbers down on paper. It could be a napkin, a book, it could be a spreadsheet, whatever it is. But from a numbers perspective, it clears up so many decisions because it makes it much more black and white. And if you're looking at profitability or anything like that, put the numbers down, understand what's happening. In this guy's case, I always talk about differentiating, but don't overcapitalize on your differentiation. There's no point on a cost of goods or a product costing $5 to make, and you're trying to sell it for $20, and then you spend $10 on your packaging, right? So you're at $15. If the market price is $20, you can't go above that. You can't start charging $40 to a degree. Brand doesn't matter, but those are the things he needs to really think about. And testing the price point is critical, obviously, with people.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk to Jon a little bit about if we were to do a little survey of, say, a dozen random Amazon sellers and how many of them actually know their landed cost and their profit margins, what his guess would be on that. We'll be right back in a second.
Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics.
Yeah, so head on over to GETIDA.com/Sellernomics, get your free $400 in FBA reimbursement. So just before the break, I was going to ask Jon a question. So Jon, not that I have this actual data, but I think we probably have a good idea of this. If we were to randomly select 12 Amazon sellers and ask them what their landed cost was and did the research on what it really was and what their profit margin was, how many of them do you think know that information? And then of those, how many do you think it's actually accurate?
Yeah, I would say if they're on page one, probably 90%. But if they're not on page one, probably 5%. It is, and it's a skill, right? You've got to be disciplined as an entrepreneur to really understand your numbers. Not everyone loves it, but you have to know those numbers. It is critical. And to your point of it being, even if they think they know the numbers, whether it's right or wrong, again, there's a very good chance they've got it wrong because one, sometimes Amazon charges more than you're being charged, and two, understanding all the fees and how that all works, it can be pretty complex, right? So, funny enough, because you brought it up, we have an FBA calculator, a free version. You can just go to our free resources and download the FBA calculator. It's done in an Excel format, so you get that, and it's got all these formulas in it, and we have it available for the US, for Europe, for Australia, and for India. And all the fees are completely different across all of those, and all of them get updated. Not necessarily even telling the community in an early time. So keep abreast of that and use that to just run through the exercise of either what are the FBA fees and what's my actual true net margin before I even go live. What can I expect? And then also if you have a product going and run that and just check it again, because you might be unpleasantly surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that. So Yeah, once again, everybody. So I got Jon Tilley, CEO of ZonGuru. We're talking about how to use data to scale your Amazon business. We dove into a lot of subjects, but a lot of really important ones that a lot of sellers, don't necessarily take the time to look at. When I was running my iPhone business, everybody knows I had an iPhone business. I literally knew how much I needed to make every day to cover payroll, my overhead, cost, everything, shipping, all of it. So I probably went too deep, but it was one of those things that, I really wanted to know. I wanted to know, what I was making every day and whether I was meeting, my requirements for what I needed to actually keep the doors open. So John, we covered a lot of stuff.
I don't think that you went too deep on that. I mean, it covers every single part of a business, whether it's, my SaaS business and marketing, right? Or it's selling a product on Amazon. If you can have a vision of what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day, what am I actually trying to achieve from a revenue perspective or from a success goal perspective, but then breaking that down into milestone, smaller and smaller steps, so that you end up with a result for a day, that you need to hit at least. I mean, you can go an hour if you want it, but let's just say for a day or for the week, right? If you know that if you hit that number, everything else is going to roll up so that you can hit your major goal. The amount of stress and relief and focus that lets go, and it gives you the focus to really focus on what you need to do. It's there, right? And so you just knew, hey, I worked everything else out. I just have to hit this every single day. And if I'm missing that, I got problems. So I need to hit that, right? So that's how you grow a business. It's really important. So no doubt you were extremely successful with that business because you knew it at that level.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So let's dive into ZonGuru. Let's give everybody, obviously, if you want to use some tools and some services that basically will help you, extract this data, you got to be willing to actually extract it and look at it. Don't just extract it to just kind of stare at it. You got to use it as an action point. So ZonGuru, go over with us the different tools and services you guys have, and maybe also what set you guys apart.
Yeah, sure. I think what sets us apart a little bit is from the day of when I started ZonGuru back in 2014, 2015. And, I was obviously a seller. I'm extremely passionate about this, this opportunity that's available to everyone to start and grow an e-commerce business on Amazon and beyond, right? Which is important. And I truly feel that it's an incredible opportunity for anybody there. I'm passionate about that. And when I've brought people onto ZonGuru, I've always encouraged and incentivized them to start their own Amazon business. We basically give them a free loan for their first stock order to put up on Amazon. So, over the years, that's created this beautiful synergy of, about 50% of our workforce now have a product live or a few products. Some have even sold Amazon businesses. Some of them are 7-figure sellers. So, all of them are working on, problems that we have as sellers day to day, and how can they use data and tools to solve that, right? So that definitely helps to set us apart as we truly stand behind for sellers by sellers. That's one piece. And I think the second one is going back to what I was saying up front, which is, you can get as much data as you want. GETIDA, right? Garbage in, you can get thousands of data points. But if you don't really have a tool set that can take all of those data points, but then visualize it and screen it through a lens of what are the key pieces of data and how does it need to be visualized in order to make the right business decision and do it in a nice, beautiful way. It makes it a lot harder as an entrepreneur to make a decision because there's so many data points. So what are the key things, right? And I think we do a really good job of that, of making sure we have that business lens. It's a question we're asking product, right? Which is, okay, great, we have all these data points, but what are we truly trying to answer here? And how can we make sure we can simplistically communicate that to anybody who's using the tool? So those are the things that set us apart. We've obviously been around for many years. That helps as well. From a tool set, we have, I think, over 17 tools now, integrated product and seller tools in Amazon North America, Europe, Australia, and India. So if you sell on any of those marketplaces, you can use our tools. Or if you want to sell on any of those marketplaces, you can use our tools. So, and then we divide our tools into product research, launch and scale, business metrics, alerts, and then review or review and customer connection. So that's the gamut that we have. Anything, and I think out of that, our strong tools are definitely our niche finder. Like if you're looking for product ideas, how do we validate those? But importantly, how do we float those ideas to you based on kind of some of your own filters? Anybody who uses our tool, they'll say that the results that we give you are relevant for private label selling, which is an important thing, because if you're just getting thousands and thousands of ideas that are cell phone cases, that maybe were good a long time ago, but not private label now, it's not going to work. So that's really strong. Our keyword tool, keywords on fire, and our listing optimization is incredibly strong. Specifically, again, business question is like, great, are these all the important keywords? But where are the gaps versus my competitors? How do I focus on the right keywords so that I can beat my competition? How do I, from a listing optimization perspective, how do I guarantee that my listing is the best optimized out of all the main sellers on page one? Ours does that extra level of, okay, these are the right keywords, but are you doing it better than your competition? So you can always compare it to your competitors. Those are the kind of things that we answer: review automation, business metrics, and the like. So it's great. I think customer success is an important piece of ours, and they're always going to help you, support you in your journey. They're passionate about it. We have a lot of education material. You can jump in, which is obviously free on the blog. We have some challenges that you can sign up for if you want to, get your best product in 14 days. We give you a very specific task to do every day. That's not going to overwhelm you and not take all your time. And in 14 days, you'll have a product and a manufacturer. We were the first to integrate with Alibaba with our Easy Source product, so you can source from Alibaba. I think we did that 2 years ago. Things like that. So plenty to check out. But at least just get on there, have fun, enjoy it. Check it out. Our Instagram channel is just product ideas and inspiration. So if you're looking for ideas on what to sell on Amazon, just follow us on Instagram. You'll just have a feed of cool ideas, what to sell, what not to sell, and everything else. So plenty to check out there.
Yeah, so I'm just popping up on the screen here. You sent me over a link. And correct me. So it's zonguru.com/get/demo. Now, is this a video demo or like an actual video or a trial type thing?
That's just a demo. So if you want to jump in and either watch some replays or schedule a demo, you can just jump in there and check it out. And there's a question there: are you researching or selling? And we'll kind of customize the demo depending on what you're looking for. So that's good. But yeah, if you go to our homepage, there'll be a few areas there that you can jump in on that researcher challenge if you want. You can download our Hot Products ebook. I think it's 100 products now that we have on there of very detailed explanations as to why it's a good product, how to differentiate it, what are the things you need to focus on. So if you research it, you can jump in and check that out. There's also a listing optimization, the rapid ranking challenge as well. So, if you just jump on the website, I'm sure a lot of people will find some good stuff. But demo, reach out on customer support, and it's a 7-day free trial anyway, so you can always just jump in and check out the tools.
Perfect. So once again, I got Jon Tilley, CEO of ZonGuru. Head on over to ZonGuru.com. That's their website. And, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Some great information. So I think I've been talking about this a little bit on the podcast, but if you haven't heard it already, in October, we got a few changes coming up. Be really cool. Sellernomics podcast is going to change up a little bit with some new exciting things. One of which will be a good fit for ZonGuru to be back on later this year. So we will definitely get them back on, and it'll definitely involve some demos and some more detailed information on their tools and services that are available. Hey, Jon, it was great having you on. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Good stuff over there, and keep doing that. And absolutely, we'll be back anytime if you need us. You got it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later next week.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, GETIDA. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for listening.